All right, perfect. So welcome back to Between Two Buildings. I'm Matt Sampson. That's Taylor Odegaard. Good to be back with you. This is the Turkey edition, Thanksgiving edition. So we're excited to be back for another installment here. So Taylor, we're going to get started real quick. We're going to do a quick this or that. As the great John C. Riley once said, "Shot out of a cannon. Don't think too hard. Just a quick Thanksgiving this or that." So
Yeah.
canned cranberries are fresh. Hit me.
Ooh, canned.
Yeah. Ooh. Mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes.
Okay. White meat or dark meat?
Dark meat.
Good call. Pumpkin pie or apple pie?
Apple pie.
Yeah, correct answer. And cook or clean?
Cook.
Yeah, I knew that. All right, cool. That's fun. So we're getting excited. There's a chill in the air. Football's on TV a bunch. USC's rocking, I think third in the Big Ten. Purdue, we won't talk about Purdue, but number one in basketball. So fired up about that. But yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about there's a lot of correlation actually, ironically, with kind of the X's and O's and a couple things you know a thing or two about Taylor. So let's get into it a little bit and we'll kind of walk through what our clients can look for, what they could do to host a Lombardi trophy one day. I see you've got some goods in the office there. So
I do.
um I guess just to start, kind of broadly, you played for Pete Carroll, won some hardware with Coach Pete. So he doesn't strike me as the guy who wings it, right? What can you tell us about his approach to coming up with a game plan, distributing it, and making sure you guys were ready to roll?
Yeah. One of the coolest experiences of my life is getting to play football for Pete Carroll at SC and going to a few national championships and playing on the Leonard Bush era teams and preparation was everything, man. I mean, it started at like 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning every day with lifting and workouts and training, and it's pitch black outside and hand down on the line and never miss a workout was the rule
Yeah.
and planning throughout the week every day had a strategy. Monday you're getting rolling. Tuesday was competition Tuesday, and we're
Okay.
beating the heck out of each other. And defense and offense and special teams, everyone's competing. And no turnover Wednesdays and no repeat
Mm.
Thursdays and Friday walkthroughs. And by the time you get to the game, you're so dialed with process and so dialed with organization. The do your job philosophy really comes into play, and that was such an incredible experience to be a part of that when you get onto the field on Saturdays and I might never forget being a freshman running out of the Coliseum with 95,000 people in the stands and the place just rocking,
Yeah.
and you're just like, wow. And then suddenly this calm comes over you that like, we're ready for this. And so I think that that has a lot of correlation to how you run a business and how you kind of
Hmm.
show up to that pitch, show up to that presentation, show up to that opportunity or deal you're working on. And preparation is the biggest thing you can do. And if you're prepared as a team and an organization, man, executing on Saturdays is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can always kind of tell someone who's prepared. They look calm and ready and excited, right? Instead
Yeah,
of nervous.
yeah,
So um ICs, they meet regularly, discuss what's working, what's not. Executives meet. And these days, if you watch football, after a possession, whether it's an interception or a touchdown, like the quarterback's always doing one thing, right? Holding the iPad or the Surface, I
yeah,
guess, as it were.
yeah.
Um, but they're looking back at data, looking at film, looking what happened. How does that correlate to the game plan and what their coaches are telling them? So ultimately, my question is how does that correlate to a real estate deal or a real estate cycle, and what types of information can our customers and our prospects and organizations out there glean from kind of a look back or a look forward? Like what can they see on their iPad, I guess is the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually an interesting dynamic though. Is so obviously you're oftentimes ironically seeing a quarterback on the sidelines looking at the iPad or the Surface tablet, usually after an interception or a turnover, but rarely do you
Hmm.
see them looking at it after a touchdown.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and I think that what actually comes from that is the highly successful quarterbacks and offensive coordinators. They're spending it's the 5 days of the week leading up to the game that they're in the film room.
Yeah.
And even though I was a punter and a kicker, we spent every day in film,
Hmm.
understanding, looking at snaps, looking at coverages, looking at punt returners as an example, or kickoff returners, and understanding field goal block and different kinds of dangers and threats and how to prepare for them. And
Hmm.
so I think that's what's interesting, is that it's actually the preparation. So very similar to having all of your data aligned and organized, and your team is looking at it as a voice of reason and understanding how we should be performing and what is working and what isn't working before a turnover occurs,
Yeah.
ironically, is the most valuable preparation. And because of that, then essentially when a touchdown happens, it's status quo. It's what should be happen. It's normal.
Okay.
And
Nice.
ironically, I came from an era of football when ironically you weren't allowed to celebrate in the end zone.
Hmm.
You'd get a flag, and nowadays you
Right.
can do the gritty and all that kind of stuff. We would have loved to do it back then, but there was this a cool statement that Pete Carroll always had for us, is like, act like you've been there before. When you run into the
Right.
end zone, hand the ball to the ref, act like you've been there before and you're coming back. And it
Yeah.
was a
The Barry
unique
Sanders.
it was a unique stoic kind of awesome, when you see our guys blow through the end zone, and incredible catches and front flips into the end zone, and they go hand the ball to the ref and run to the sidelines and go get prepped for the next play. I think that's something that's very correlated to how an operational team, investment committee, if they're walking into that meeting, like let's say they want to acquire this building, or they want to prove to their JV partners or their operating companies or their CEO and CEO they're doing well.
Hmm.
Having that film study, having that data understanding, we know where our properties are at, we know where NOIs are at, we know where age receivables are at, we know how we're doing in tracking of collections. We know
Hmm.
exactly what tenants are coming up for expirations and what our retention ratio should be. Nothing's a surprise. If it's all part of the plan, then it's much easier to strategize and forecast and be a very tactical operator. I think so much of real estate in the last 20 years has been in arrears, looking backwards. It was easy to own a Class A trophy asset in a downtown
Right.
market, coupon clipping at a 5%, return. That was easy. Now you got to
Yeah.
work at it. And so when the game is different and the game has changed, the data is so much more important. So that corollary or correlation to how you're seeing, technology get infused into sports like football, and seeing how they're looking at data instantly. What went wrong? How did that go? That what's
Hmm.
not seen typically is all those hours in film room.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And we often say, um, for the price of an analyst, you can gain an entire platform that everyone can use. So, in a way, having access to that data at your fingertips and being able to interact with it the way that you want to, or the way that the business is currently demanding from you, it almost gives you like a 12th man on the field, or an additional
Love
coverage
that.
out there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a way that clients can really kind of get ahead of the curve and ahead of the game. So um, yeah, we often use another analogy, typical, I guess, on my end, sales guy using sports analogies, but with our Cornerstone experience, gets you, we like to say, into the red zone, right? So we try to, you being a punter, know a thing or two about flipping the field and field position, but really that's what we want to do with our customers is use the power of the platform and what we know how to do with the data, and get them in scoring position and be able to configure it, kind of in the sort of remaining 20%, if you will, and
Hmm.
and go in and score. So um, yeah, I think that's a great analogy there. So um, by deploying Navigator, I guess what kinds of gains can clients have relative to that field position? So we talked about wanting to do a look back, but kind of in that real time, using data to your advantage perspective. What's
Yeah.
what's the difference, right? To be able to do this in real time, and what can they expect for having this data at their fingertips?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those kind of big play advantages. It's almost like it's not a trick play. It's the ability to
Mm.
have the ability to go downfield far and fast. And I think that using that our football analogy continued here, it's when you do have that situation come up where effectively you have an opportunity to acquire a large portfolio of buildings that have come online that you didn't expect, or you've got an operating partner that you can take over the operations now and no longer be a limited partner and really understand it. When you've got all that data at your fingertips and you understand it, and you can get down to literally the screws on every building you own, like dock doors, clear heights, slab thicknesses, truck court aprons, number of trailer parking you've got. I mean, if it's no longer the I'll have to get back to you, it's I
Hmm.
already know that, so I can make a decision now.
Yeah.
It's another called Pete Carroll quote of start fast and finish strong. I mean, we had it on our
Yeah.
t-shirts, and the idea is if you have it and you have the intelligence to do it and you know what's going on, you can make quick decisions, and then you can finish very, very strong with regards to executing well, doing your job, and really becoming a champion at the end of the day. Winning that deal, winning that opportunity, or interfacing with your team in a whole new way. Being able to go, let's
Hmm.
go celebrate in the end zone together, if you will. Where every part of the team comes together. It's asset management, property management, acquisitions, portfolio strategy,
Yep.
finance, FP&A. Like if they're all coming together in the end zone around the same data and the same understanding, it makes it easier and easier to score and flip the field. Especially, if there's an opportunity where you need to be decisive. And I would say that
Hmm.
in the last 36 months of commercial real estate, decisiveness has paid off for a lot of our operations. That making good decisions, like we should be buying this product type, we should be taking out these kind of partners, we should be not seeking these types of tenants.
Hmm.
By having the data to drive those decisions, you're removing the gut, which is obviously a big part of sport, but people
Right.
forget a lot of sport is you're using your past experiences to make better decisions the next time. And so
Hmm.
it's like, what if the goal with, I would say, like a navigator type platform is, what if you could be the offensive coordinator and you get to slide up and top into the booth, and you're 300 feet above the field, and you could see the plays unfolding and have the ability to look back all the way to the first quarter, all the way going forward, and say, I remember this play before. We know how to win. We know how to score on this play.
Yeah.
That's where we try to kind of lead people to, is what if you had the bird's eye view of your portfolio and your data all in one place? What kind of different game could you make other than basically standing on the sideline or looking in the huddle and going, everything's at eye level? What if we could get you above eye level? And
Right.
that 0 to 1 that we love to provide our clients is where what we think is going to be transformational in real estate.
Hmm. And to be clear, you still have your gut, right? Like that's still
Always.
part of the equation. But it's informed and hinges on data. So,
Yeah.
great.
We call that original AI, to not use that
Yeah.
word with too much, but that's called actual intelligence, meaning you've done this before, you have this
Right.
experience. So removing the artificial out of it's actually important. And so much of real estate is done by
Yeah.
experience and understanding. And so if we can transform what's in that brain of that great acquisitions team, or the great
Hmm.
asset management team, into a platform that makes the decisions the same and follows the
Hmm.
same logic patterns, now you're distributing not just intelligence, but you're just distributing practice across the organization.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Appreciate it, Taylor. Well, we're excited to be celebrating in the end zone with everybody and a couple days off next week. But now is actually it's a wonderful time to get started with Navigator because we've got about a month or so left in the year, but our deployments team is ready to roll and you could start 2026 with a whole platform at your fingertips and a 12th man on the field. So
Yeah.
um, be great to connect with anybody that's interested or we piqued your interest and happy Thanksgiving to all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our goal is for 2026 is to get you guys to the championship of everything you guys do in operations. And I know a few things about that, winning a
There
couple
we
of
go.
rings at SC in my day. So we appreciate everyone. Have a wonderful, happy holidays and Thanksgiving with your family. God bless y'all.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.